Welcome, everybody. It's a Thursday, so as ever, this is another exciting episode of MongoDB TV Cloud Connect. I'm Shane McAllister. I'm a lead developer advocate here on the developer relations team, and I host this Cloud Connect show every Thursday on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So for regular viewers, it's really good to have you back again, and for new viewers, you're very welcome. Do check out our past shows and keep an eye on our YouTube and LinkedIn for forthcoming episodes as well. While we're waiting to get underway with this show, let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. We love to hear from our audience and our viewers. And once we get underway, should you have any questions for my guests today, please drop them into the chat and we'll try to answer them live or cover them at the end if we don't get them through them during the show. This is being recorded, so don't worry, it will be available on MongoDB's YouTube channel and LinkedIn once it's finished. So if you can't stay for all of it, the recording is there for you to go back and have a look at it. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our MongoDB YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest posts and news. Anyway, that's enough housekeeping from me. Today we have an extraordinary episode in store for you. We're diving deep into the world of CodeWhisperer, the cutting-edge code completion tool, and exploring our groundbreaking collaboration between MongoDB and AWS. To do this properly, we've not one or two guests as we might usually have, but 5. Not all at the same time, mind you, because I'm not too sure I could corral all of those guests. So to get us started, we're going to be joined by 2 of those distinguished guests. First of all, we've got Andrew Davidson, Senior Vice President of Product Management here at MongoDB. Andrew brings a wealth of expertise in developer solutions and a unique perspective on how CodeWhisperer aligns with MongoDB's developer-focused initiatives. And our second guest is Anu Sharma from Amazon Web Services. Anu is a Director of Product NGDE. NGDE stands for Next Generation Developer Experience, and is here to discuss how CodeWhisperer fits into AWS's broader developer strategies, and also about our collaboration with them has pushed boundaries of innovation. So without further ado, welcome Andrew, welcome Anu. How are you both?
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Shane. Great to see you. And Anu, great to see you as well.
You too.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you both for joining us. I do appreciate it very much. Look, we announced AWS CodeWhisperer collaboration with MongoDB back on Monday. We got great coverage. We got covered in a lot of the press articles, the news articles. We've seen reactions in our own forums, etc. We've seen visits to our developer center pages, and I'll put all these links up during the duration of our show. But I really wanted to have a high-level view from both of you as to what this means, respectively. So maybe, Anu, if I could go to you first, and can you provide an overview for us of AWS's vision for CodeWhisperer and CodeWhisperer's role in the suite of developer tools and services that AWS has?
Yeah, I want to start perhaps with how we think about software development. And at AWS, we have, for a long while and for several years, invested in secure and safe development practices. And this you see reflected in practically everything we do, whether it's our infrastructure with the Nitro system at the hardware level, whether it's the firmware, that's the virtualization stack in EC2 instances. We've also invested heavily in languages that are safe. So our contribution to Rust is also public and in open source. There is a lot that we continue to do internally. We have internal tools that automatically detect software security issues, and we help us fix them internally ahead of time, so you don't have to be impacted. So we take security and quality of software very seriously because we are also operators. We have to operate this software. Coming from there, from our internal tools, we realized that we needed a way for our own developers to build software faster. And we've been investing in a bunch of different tools, but with generative AI, we've started to see that this whole spectrum of what is possible has shifted almost to what was impossible before has just merely become hard. If you look at it from that perspective, then we can start to chip away at a lot of the hard, seemingly impossible, but now just hard problems. And that's what we're starting to build on. And this is probably a multi-year journey. But the way you think about it today, you see a lot of the UX that basically is autocomplete. You start in the editor, you just kind of keep tabbing, and the ghost text that shows up, and it's basically autocomplete UX, which is great. And I may be wrong on this, but I don't think that's where the future is going. We think, in fact, that there is a lot of work that we do while we generate code. So the autocomplete helps when you're generating new code. But many of us, in fact, spend most of our time working on existing code, fixing existing code, optimizing existing code. And in fact, once you've written code, you'll continue to build on that software. And so, we have a very ownership-driven mindset that once you've written software, we have to continue to build it and continue to iterate. So the software changes very quickly. So that's all of that is built into our thinking of what CodeWhisperer should be. And we think this generative AI as a capability allows us to rethink and redesign the workflow for software development in its entirety. It's not just about code generation, editor. It's about how you refactor your code. How would you detect security issues if they come up? But really, should this new code that you generate have security issues in the first place? And we'll talk a little bit more later about how we train CodeWhisperer, but our effort is to generate high-quality, secure code from the get-go and incorporate the best practices as left as possible, so you don't have to sort of come later and try to fix these later.
Yeah, I love that, the impossible to hard with Gen AI. We've seen changes come so rapidly. But Andrew, how do you view the integration of CodeWhisperers benefiting the MongoDB's developer community?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to this one. I think if we take a step back and kind of look at this through a broad continuum over time, I always think of that classic Steve Jobs quote that computers were the bicycles for the mind. I've long felt that in many ways, MongoDB with a document model and frankly, AWS with just this incredible infrastructure foundation were both delivering this incredible bicycle for the developer's mind. In other words, making it possible for a developer to essentially write software as quickly as they can think. And of course, that vision or that idea has never quite been fully there yet. But every step of the way with all this innovation that we're seeing is about making it easier, whether it's a data model with first-class indexes as MongoDB provides that are all about enabling that, or an infrastructure foundation and all the primitives needed, or now seeing what Amazon is doing with CodeWhisperer and the enhancements to the developer flow, the experience, whether you're, a more junior developer writing code for the first time, writing a function that's taking advantage of MongoDB, and having the context of your code keep you on the happy path, trained on a foundation model that's been fine-tuned to be optimized for that. Or if you're a senior developer who just wants to move faster and just feel those superpowers that Amazon is so good at talking about, enabling, I think that this is just such a natural extension of that, to be able to write software more quickly and just to be able to do the impossible. I love that framing on you.
And I mentioned at the beginning, this was a collaboration. We've worked together with the AWS CodeWhisperer team to enable this. Anu, could you talk a little bit about, the technical aspects, the operational aspects of training and fine-tuning, tools such as CodeWhisperer?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and we've been working on it for a few years now. And I will start by saying that data is the raw material. But I will go further and say that if we don't provide it the quality of raw material that it needs, it will not generate the quality we want. And so the quality of data we use to train the model must see only high quality data for it to generate high quality data, and not so the preparation of data is a critical aspect, and that data pipeline is critical for us. And we'll get into briefly about how we partnered with Mongo on some of this and creating this data pipeline for CodeWhisperer. But once you have this data pipeline running, we run hundreds of experiments in training and designing new training techniques. And sometimes we find, in fact, very surprising results. For example, you can find a situation where a retrieval technique doesn't work as well as you'd expect, and fine-tuning works better. And so there are so many experiments that are running, and part of our experiences here is to learn. We're all learning. And experimentation has been a culture at Amazon, so we're sort of doubling down on that as well. But then the final aspect is the inference piece, because this is in fact a low latency model, and it has to run in line with your experience. It has additional constraints, and it's not just low latency for you and me here in, say, the West Coast. It has to be low latency for someone in Korea, and so there is a lot of operational abstraction that we need to make sure that you don't have to see and feel that we have to manage. All of this sort of comes together with a lot of different functions. There are scientists, there are engineers, there's various levels of operational efficiencies that we need to gain. Also, I will say that it is expensive today, but we're also investing in making this as efficient and cost efficient for us as well as our customers later. So whatever you see today, I think, is going to be more meaningful and hopefully more cost effective as well as we go on.
Excellent. And we will show the demo after our conversation here now as well. But Andrew, can you share some of the insights about the collaboration process that we had with the AWS CodeWhisperer team, how we worked with them, how we shared our best practice use case, our code snippets?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was really a thrilling experience for our team to be able to collaborate with Amazon on this, to be involved in training and fine-tuning a foundation model. It's a special opportunity. And we rose to the occasion by providing thousands of lines of code from, across hundreds of files in our core programming language communities, key code samples from Python and Node.js, JavaScript, C#, Java, and Golang. And also coupled that with all of the code in all of the MongoDB documentation. And of course, we wanted to have a good balance of, your standard CRUD application use cases all the way into more powerful aggregations, which allow you to shape the data, transpose the data, and of course, roll up the data. And so having all of that across all those programming language communities, across a bunch of use cases, is how we got started. And of course, we looked at how the output was looking and used that to continue fine-tuning it and making sure that everything looked appropriate and optimized. And of course, it's a never-ending process. It's a journey, but we're really impressed by the results so far.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, this is maybe not a never-ending process, but it's an ongoing process. We continually have to improve, I suppose, the amount of samples, code snippets, use cases that we can provide to tools such as CodeWhisperer to enable them to continually be beneficial to the developer community. Anu, could you talk to us a little bit about, this ongoing work that always needs to happen to keep these tools maintained, and in the broader generative AI space, how things keep pace with the technological changes?
Yeah, it turns out that our CodeWhisperer, the model that powers CodeWhisperer's generations, is one of the, in fact, market-leading capabilities. We don't talk about it a lot, but it's one of the lightest weight models because it needs to fetch at low latency and serve at low latency. But it also means that it's super well trained on a lot of data. And that data is, of course, as I said, high quality. But what we want to continue to do is continue to update it continuously. So it's continuously being trained. It's not like one and done large language model, that kind of updates in epochs. And the reasoning for that is that, one, I think as developers, we are creative people. We create new patterns of development. And our model should see those patterns. And the Mongo community contributes to the new ways of using our infrastructure and Mongo's capabilities. And so all of those new features, as we roll in, our developers want to be able to see that as well. So we think it's essential to continuously train, number one. Number two is that as Andrew was pointing out, we had this golden data training set that we partnered with Mongo on. And we want to establish basically an ongoing pipeline that is continuously updated, so that our model, by the way, which we have to keep up, make sure that it's high quality. And so it's a collaborative exercise. But it's important for us to make sure we have the latest features, the latest patterns, and incorporate all the creativity that our developers want and need today.
And I think that's key, I suppose. Look, in MongoDB, we're always adding new features. We're always adding new capabilities. So we need to make sure that the tools that are out there to help developers. So, like, from your perspective, Andrew, a developer today using CodeWhisperer, what sort of features or advantages is that going to give them going forward?
I mean, I think right now it is contextually keeping you on the happy path and kind of one step ahead, avoiding pitfalls and allowing you to kind of feel as though the system knew what you were about to do next, and kind of allowing you to get the job done faster. I think that's where we are now, but I think we can all kind of imagine where this is going. I don't know if Anu, wants to be put on the spot, but if I, imagine that what CodeWhisperer over time will enable for MongoDB is more natural language prompts. We'll feed in over time, I'm sure, more and more advanced reference material and code samples, and we'll support more languages, also new frameworks and higher level of abstractions as developers build in so many different ways today. For example, new frameworks show up that become extremely popular overnight. Right now, we're watching the rise of LangChain and Llama Index and SuperDuperDB with MongoDB Atlas Vector Search for all these new RAG use cases, retrieval augmented generation. I bring that up as an example of a new type of framework that's rapidly evolving, and we're going to want to train on that. And whatever the equivalent of that will be next year and the years beyond, I can only imagine CodeWhisperer will expand into that, getting to the point where you can just describe what you want and imagine the code is there. But I think Anu is right that the developers are creative people, and they're also people who want to understand and ultimately operationalize what they're building. It's a refinement. We use the word developer a lot, but really software engineering is an engineering discipline. So when you think about what it means to see code that was written, understand how it works, and be ready to use it in production and be able to enhance it from there. There's so much that goes into kind of continuously enabling that two-pizza team to move forward and evolve. So I think we're just at the beginning of where all this goes.
Yeah, and I think you're very right. It seems to be certainly the very beginning, moving very, very rapidly as well, too. I was talking to an analyst, and James Governor from Redmonk, and he said English is the new programming language. If you're good at describing what you want, these tools can infer that. And they also infer not only your intent, but also given prior code in whatever file that you're working in as well, too. They're inferring the structure. They're inferring essentially what you're trying to build overall. So, Anna, you mentioned at the beginning that, we're used to kind of completions of essentially variable names and things that helped us along the way. But CodeWhisperer is so much more than that now. Can you tell us a little bit? You mentioned at the beginning, I didn't pick you up on it then, that this is years in development with AWS. Tell us a little bit more about kind of that and the plans to, if you can, maybe you can, in the future for CodeWhisperer and similar AI tools such as that?
Yeah. Let me say that our mission is to make developers more creative, to take them back and give them back time to do what they love the most, which is coding. Unfortunately, our studies, internal studies and external studies, and several of them point to one fact. You're lucky if you get to spend 2 hours a day coding. You're lucky. And the problem with there is that there is a lot of time we end up spending on a bunch of other things, like sometimes just finding the right piece of reference coding snippet. In fact, most of it is outdated. Sometimes you're just trying to find boilerplate code and getting that to work. But really troubleshooting production applications, whether it's, or optimizing performance, there's so much that you just kind of have to do, or write tests, for example. Nobody said I'm like, writing tests, my favorite thing to do. Nobody said that.
ever.
But it is essential to write these. So what we recognize is there are the critical aspects of software development that must happen, that are auxiliary to the creative pursuits that we are trying to work on and solve problems for. And that is the heavy lifting and sort of undifferentiated part that we want to take over and solve for you, and make that just go away so that you get back your job. And so, part of there's some narrative about how GenAI is going to take over, software development. No, I feel like it's going to hand us back the time we have to do the things we love, and probably make a lot more people creative as well. Like maybe there's an analogy here that I use, that back in the medieval times, people had to carve out the bark of a tree, burn it, and then boil it in some turpentine to create paint. And that is what it took to be a painter back then. Now you can buy paint off the shelf and all of us can paint. And guess what? The tremendous quantity actually raises the quality too. So because there are so many people doing it, you just get better painters just at the high level. So we're just going to get better developers, even though there are a lot more developers now, even as we will code in natural language.
Yeah. And Andrew, you touched on it earlier. You mentioned, the junior developers and the senior developers and everybody in between. And I think from my perspective, as if you're a senior developer, this will do exactly what Anu says. It removes the boilerplate, the mundane tasks that you would normally have done, and frees up time or speeds you up, etc. It falls into our current campaign, the Love Your Developers, about creating tools to make developers' jobs easier and freeing them up to be more creative, as Anu says, correct?
Big time. I love Anu's point on this. I mean, it is so rare for any technical person to find those moments of flow. But when you find yourself in a couple of hours of flow, even if it's a couple hours a day, in that flow state where you just feel like you're moving forward, you're building castles in your mind that are being captured by the machine in a sense, and you're capturing the code that you're trying to express, and it's working and you're progressing. It's an incredible feeling. It's why people write software. They get kind of, they love that moment and they get kind of addicted to it. But then, of course, when it comes to the whole discipline of software engineering and bringing, mentoring, other engineers, bringing them onto the team, sharing a code base, all the things that come about, I think all of this will just make all of that easier and more smooth over time. It's a great moment for developers. I think I would be remiss to not mention something else that I think Anu was getting at earlier, which is at its core, this needs to be the kind of thing that allows you to build faster and on a secure foundation. It needs to be very reasonable that you can go up a level of abstraction in how you think about and express your code, but also feel like you're building on best-in-class infrastructure, best-in-class, scenarios that don't make it easy for you to shoot yourself in the foot, for example. That's certainly been the philosophy of MongoDB Atlas. I know that CodeWhisperer is built with that in mind, and that allows you to just know that what you're expressing, yes, you're still responsible. Yes, you have to test, but it isn't like you're kind of building from such low-level building blocks that in a way you can't even reason about the level of risk you're taking on. I think that's really important.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Now, I've been keeping an eye on some of the comments we're getting in on LinkedIn and YouTube. So people are itching to see this in action. And I know we've got Dominic and Igor waiting in the wings as well, too. So Anu, some last words from you about CodeWhisperer and Gen AI, and that push to get out there and try it, see how you get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, our customers are pushing us in all kinds of delightful ways. We get asked from different kinds of customers, when can we move our COBOL applications to like Java or cloud, and when can we like get rid of a certain licensed software that we never liked using, but we want to take that application and convert it into, say, Mongo in the cloud. And so there's so much to do here, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to hear more from you, to see you use the product, to hear, even just feedback, just anything. Yeah.
Excellent. And from you, Andrew, last words for our viewers?
Well, I would just remind all our viewers that you should get into that moment of flow and start diving in and using these incredible new ways of building software. So thank you so much for having us, Shane. And I don't want to cut any more time into the demos.
No, it's been a pleasure. So Anu Sharma, Andrew Davidson, thank you for jumping on Cloud Connect. We do appreciate that and this conversation. We're going to let you both go now, and we're going to bring on Dominic and Igor, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the demo. So thank you both once again. It's been a pleasure. Igor and Dominic, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, guys.
You've been quietly both waiting in the wings while Andrew and Anu go through the high-level stuff, but you're developers at heart. You're itchy. You want to get to show us stuff. So
it's like waiting for Christmas,
We're going to take a first-hand look at CodeWhisperer's capabilities, and we're going to do a short demo, show everybody. Now, the key thing that I mightn't have mentioned at the start is CodeWhisperer's out and live now, so you can go and install that, and we're going to show you how you do that and get it. The version that's live now is the version that's been fine-tuned and trained on MongoDB. So we're going to run through that, and then in a little while, 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes after the demo, we're also going to talk about what MongoDB is doing at AWS reInvent this year at the end of November in Las Vegas. If you get the opportunity to go there, and I know there's 65,000 people going or something like that, Igor, I believe it's enormous. You'll see a lot more CodeWhisperer there. You'll see a lot of new demos and things from MongoDB as well too. So if you're lucky enough to go there, we're doing a workshop that Dominic and another colleague of ours, Chuck, will be showcasing. So stay tuned for the end of that. But Igor, I'm going to turn it over to you to get sharing that screen and show our viewers all about how to get started with CodeWhisperer.
Absolutely. Let me just quickly share my screen. And I'm sharing the screen, not the slides.
No slides.
I don't have any slides. No slides. We should call it a no slides show. All right. Yeah. And I'm going to share it. And don't be scared. That's my desktop. That's normal. It's busy. All right.
Is it messy?
Messy.
Right. Here
always
we go.
messy.
Look at all those files. Would you clean that up? Clean it up. You're live.
It's security through obscurity. Okay. So I have, what do I have today? I have my MongoDB Atlas. I have my students collection, my test collection. So we have some data in Atlas. And I have two environments for you. I have Visual Studio Code, and I have an incoming call. Okay. Incoming call swatted away.
Mute everything. Yes.
Yes. So I have Visual Studio Code, and I also have IntelliJ. Dominic, do you have a preference which one we go first with?
I'm an IntelliJ user, so obviously that's going to be
that's going to
be my choice.
What? Anyway, I'll jump between the two, and essentially it's similar experience. So first of all, think of CodeWhisperer, right? CodeWhisperer is what? It's an application, first of all. You can think of, you guys developers are writing Gen AI applications. So AWS also wrote a Gen AI application. It has a user interface, has a backend, has a model. So user interface. So user interface lives inside of the plugins. So I've installed the plugin here, AWS plugin. And here you will see, if you install a newer version, you will see there is CodeWhisperer tab or whatever section. I'm going to quickly sign out just to kind of show you the experience. But so you will be with this at this screen in Visual Studio Code. And I'll just, to pacify Dominic, I'll show it in IntelliJ as well. Here you click Start. Scroll down a little bit below, and here you'll have to hit sign up or sign in with your AWS Builder ID.
And the builder ID is important to call out too, because you don't need necessarily an account and all of paid or anything otherwise. Builder ID gets you in to use the AWS Toolkit and CodeWhisperer, right?
Absolutely correct. So I am technically using my personal email address, and you don't even need to have a work related address. So it's your ID. Okay, and it opens on the other screen. Maybe I'll bring it quickly with this. Yeah. So that's it. This screen is going to pop up. That's what you will see. I'll say confirm and continue. And it will ask you to allow AWS Toolkit for Visual Code Studio to do these things. You say allow, just like on any site, you say allow everything, right? And after that, you will see here, I shouldn't show you, like this is check, CodeWhisperer. That means we're all good. CodeWhisperer is working.
Excellent.
And let me just type some import. Yeah, you see this stuff in gray coming up. That's CodeWhisperer by Mongo. Yeah, that's CodeWhisperer already. And I can, this is already by CodeWhisperer. Now, Dominic, he loves IntelliJ. He doesn't joke around. He's a serious person, right? So
I like myself a proper ID,
Yeah, I mean, I am with you. I am with you. It's just my laptop is slightly underpowered.
Do you know what I also like? A cleaned up desktop.
Very funny, Dominic.
Our next live stream, Igor, we're holding you to that. Or just buy a new computer altogether if cleaning up your desktop
I
is going to
second
cause
that
you much
motion.
problem. Yeah.
No, I think the next live stream is actually going to be us watching Igor cleaning up his desktop.
It's just like my tabs. They keep coming back in the browser.
The master of tabs is usually Shane, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me there all right.
So, so Toolkit. It's AWS Toolkit. You probably have it installed already. And I'm connected now. So let's see if I can find how to disconnect. Oh, yeah. So I'll sign out. I've signed out. So I am in the AWS Toolkit. That's again extension into IntelliJ. You install it. You come here, select CodeWhisperer section, hit on start. It'll prompt you with this. And after that, it's a similar flow. It will prompt you to open and copy the code, and it will bring you to the same browser. Let me just show you the browser. Similar, and I have here the code. Again, you authorizing IntelliJ to invoke, to send data to CodeWhisperer to the analysis. Right. And generating init, I'm authorized. Awesome. I'm back in business on my busy desktop. So this is how it all looks in both environments. I'm gonna switch to actually we'll do some of them in Visual Studio Code, some of them in IntelliJ, because user interface actually.
Share the love. Share the ID love.
Yeah, well, let's do the basic one in first Visual Studio Code, and then switch to IntelliJ.
All right. So
it's probably a good question, since you mentioned, or you want to show us both anyway. In case you happen to know, I would actually be curious about if there are actual differences between the two versions for Visual Studio and IntelliJ, because obviously I haven't tried the Visual Studio Code version one, right? Because why would I?
Yeah.
So if you happen to know them, it might be interesting to just get an idea of what we get there.
Yeah, and I want to know from Rusty's, who's joined us, which ID does your 98-year-old grandpa use? So let us know. And for viewers who are joining us who have not seen generally how our AWS Cloud Connect episodes work out when Igor is on with myself and Dominic, our familiarity is proper and true. We've done this a lot, so enjoy the banter, and we're looking forward to these demos.
Yeah, so the 90-year-old grandma probably uses voice-activated environment where you don't need to type anything. But in our case, we'll have to type things. So let's start with this simple example. So remember, this is an application. So CodeWhisperer is an application, has user interface. User interface is this extension that interacts with your development environment. You interact with this application by typing code and typing comments. So in this case, I want to import MongoDB. Let me just, oh yeah, and I do have, I have imported environment variable with my Atlas connection. Now, I want to do something. So you kind of have to talk to the model, to the application. You have to say, oh, I want to find an object in test database in MongoDB, right? We all have to tell it's MongoDB test database. In collection.
Wait, do you mean there's other databases out there other than MongoDB?
There's some.
Well, you guys are so sensitive. I'm talking about your database, like these database within the cluster, not like other competition. Some people are just too sensitive to other things. All right. So at this point, I've typed a comment. I have some code out there. So let's see. In gray is what CodeWhisperer prompted me. Not bad, but I've remembered my URL is not like that. So let me just, so this is not in your code editor yet. You need to hit tab to accept it. You can try to go arrow keys if there are multiple suggestions, but in this case, I don't like that because my URI is different. I don't like it Mongo URL. I like it to call Atlas URL. So I'm going to say Atlas, and it will remember I've done it maybe several times. Oh yeah, I like this one. I want to explicitly retrieve it. Maybe I want to reuse it. Now I'm gonna.
What I really like about the previous suggestion, though, we didn't even write anything about environment variables or stuff like that. And the CodeWhisperer suggestion was right away to do the thing the way you're supposed to do it, and not hard coded. Have the connection string hard coded here, but have it as an environment variable. So that's actually really cool to see that even the code style is also really nice.
Yeah.
And I think the key thing is you mentioned there couldn't be multiple suggestions. You can arrow key through them here in VS Code. You'll show us in IntelliJ. There's a dialog that pops up that allows you to navigate through them as well.
IntelliJ was a more sophisticated dialog here. So again,
of course it is.
All right.
Would you see that here, that you have multiple suggestions that you could arrow through?
Yes, you can see, but maybe you'll just let's just finish this first. Let's just get some results, Dominic.
And important, if you just joined us, etc., and you're watching this, the gray means that's CodeWhisperer's suggestion. It's not Igor being super quick on cutting and pasting off another screen or anything like that. This is live code suggestions based on essentially, what it infers from what you're trying to do. And the import statements that you have up the top is setting up the environment. It kind of knows what we're trying to do, and then it's taking it from there.
Yeah, because it looked at the comment. So the comment is an instruction to the model. If you're familiar with the language model and you think of you know concept of a prompt, this is the prompt. So it's actually typical. If you look at it, it's a typical retrieval augmented generation. Your prompt is the comment. Your context is your code. And I want to print this out, right? So, and of course it knows I'm with the student, so I'm probably want to print out student, not some other funny things. Yeah, let's run it. And it found a student. Cool. So this is in Visual Studio Code. Let's switch to IntelliJ and see how the interface is different. And let's just do something else. I have the same file here. Hey, look, it refreshed it even. Okay. So let's, what do you want to do, Dominic? Yeah, you have something in mind, I'm pretty sure. Oh, it prompts me to. Dominic, it already knows.
I was about to say one of the things that I really liked when I tried it out the first time and played around with it. I didn't even have to come up with ideas what to try out. I just gave it like a couple of buzzwords or not even anything at some point, and just like suggested, oh, you know what? That's something that you could do. So let's just see what we got here and take one of those 3 suggestions.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So we do have a little dialogue. So you ask him next. Okay, hold on. Let me just see if a Visual Studio Code can do that. So I'm going to put a comment. Okay. And so you see I'm using arrow keys and it's shifting around my couple of suggestions. All right. So the same thing works.
Yeah.
But since Dominic is involved, we're gonna go back to IntelliJ, and
Isn't it nice to see that how many suggestions there are and where you are and all that? So
yeah,
it's kind of neat.
it is more sophisticated interface. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, find all objects. Okay, let's do that. Let's just okay. But that doesn't sound super sophisticated. No, MongoDB, the collection of students aged 25 or older. Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, is my insert code. All right. Now, teaching point. Teaching point. So we hit enter, nothing happened. We walked around. Where is my CodeWhisperer? And it's something actually you will kind of have to, as you start using it, think of it as you're doing Tango with a partner. And there is like 2 latencies involved. There is you typed, CodeWhisperer responding, you see in the response your latency, you're processing it, right? And I noticed sometimes CodeWhisperer responds, yeah, it was great, but my hands kept typing and the whole thing is gone. And maybe Dominic will say his latency is much lower than mine, and it is fine. But it is good to know. There is a hotkey actually, and it's called Command Option C. I'm on Mac, so it's Option C. I think it's probably Alt C. Alt C in most likely in Windows. And what it does, it invokes explicitly CodeWhisperer. This is great when you just moved around a lot and it is not prompting you with anything. So, and actually some people turn off automatic code generation and go with manual. Like when they've typed enough, they think like, okay, I've got enough instructions, go. That will happen. They will just invoke it automatically. Now, okay, so we've inserted that, and it's probably trying to iterate over my list, but I think I know better, right? I should be able just to print it, right? Right, Dominic? I should print it like that, right?
Maybe.
Let's run. Yeah, so here I have a runtime environment. Oh, it prints a Mongo cursor.
Yeah, there's one more thing that you need.
Yeah, I need one more thing, but no suggestions. Well, let's just wrap it in the list then.
I mean, the thing is that the reason CodeWhisperer suggests that here is there's technically nothing wrong with that. It is a valid object that you can print. You as a user can't do much with it. Fair enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I wanted to print out, reference to my cursor object. My prerogative, right? I want to see those numbers every day. Like, okay. Hey, we have 2. Cool. So this is the multiple. But okay, what else should we do, Dominic?
I hopefully change some of those. So like, first of all, I see there's like the same John, age 25, with the same grade in there. It's the different.
Okay, let's just find somebody who is not John then. Find all objects
that are not John,
whose name is not John. Okay, that's awesome, right? All right, wow. Yeah, like I don't remember off the top of my head this $NE.
Not equal. That's exactly what we need here.
Yeah, it is, and I understand how to expand an abbreviation, not equal. Thank you, Dominic. But off the top of my head, no. Okay. Oh, look at that. It even list students.
Well, you've told it to do that twice before, so it's kind of going, I think Igor wants to do this after he does everything. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's run it to see if there are not Johns here. All right, we have Amon.
We got a couple.
Oh yeah, this is messing up because previous.
It's done it twice. Yeah, it has the previous.
Yeah, fair. Just ignore the first 2 prints, but you'll see a list of more students down there, which probably scrolls to the right quite a bit, depending on how many test objects you inserted before.
Yeah, and I'm printing it before too, right? So okay. Yeah. I'm gonna turn off. All right. So we have Amon. Okay.
Yeah, and a couple more to the right. Right.
A couple. Oh, it's not formatting it nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just like the standard print. If you use print, that's just what it looks like. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, let's maybe create a function. See how that works out. Let's try create a function that counts number of students in a collection whose name is not John. I felt like the house that Jack built.
Poor John. Poor
Yeah.
John. We want everything to do with everything but him. Yeah.
All right, and here it's kind of thinking that I don't need.
Thinking.
I don't want to invoke it. Hey, come on, come and see what's happening.
See, the thing is, CodeWhisperer was probably trying to tell you, why would anyone ever do that? I'm not going to give you code for that. You right?
And actually, that's where our previous speakers, remember, Andrew was talking to Anu, and Anu was talking about how latency is super important. I get very impatient, right? Like I hit it, give me 500 milliseconds max. I'm hitting again multiple times. So this is a very specific application. Like you cannot spend hours generating that code. It has to be fast. And that's why Anu was talking about regionality of the service. All right, so def count students. I prefer not John name, but that's good.
Oh, you wanted to? Yeah, that's true. But like that gets like it gets turned into a very long function name there, and I know a lot of people don't like that. So I guess in terms of coding style, you can go with that one. That's
right,
fair.
but obscures the meaning a little bit, so that's fine. Let me see if. Ooh, look at that. So which one do you think is right, Dominic? It's a pop quiz.
You can use both.
All right, let's try to use this one first. All right. Oh wow, let's do this.
It knows you want to.
You might actually need the other. I don't know. Let's see.
I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think there's such a thing as count. Yeah, this is.
Yeah. Okay, you'd actually need the other one.
See, yeah, it's a little bit of hallucination goes a long way. So let's just fix this. So I think we'll do the same trick with length. I don't know if this is legit or allowed, but fine. Print. Oh, return length of list. Yeah, that's what we need. I think. All right. 7. Yay. There's 7 not Johns. All right. Yeah. So, and now what's...
Because you still have the previous print in there up above too. So yeah, the answer is 7 is...
The answer to everything is 7. Cool.
Can you do something about that? Can you like do something to make sure the answer that we get is 42? I don't care what you do, as long as the answer is 42.
Add another 35 students whose name is not John.
Make the function above return 42. Yeah?
I like that idea. That's good.
Let's see.
I'm not entirely sure that's best practices now.
No recommendations.
No.
Stupid instructions yield no recommendations.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the right answer, because I wouldn't even know what to do if I was CodeWhisperer at that point.
Well, I was thinking like return 42 would be the appropriate.
You could make it a bit. I don't know if that's maybe too much, but what you could do is obviously just like write a function that checks the amount of students in the collection and adds enough to end up with 42 students.
Obtuse.
That's not too crazy. Probably.
Yeah,
it doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah.
But
comment.
I suppose.
Yes.
You have you've got the list. You've looked for the non-Johns in there. Other things that generally developers will be looking to do is maybe take one of those records and update it, right? So we could go in and swap someone's name, right?
Yeah, let's
or
just
change their grade, maybe, if like the old school movies. You go in and hack the computer and you change your college grade.
Give all Johns a C.
Yeah, let's just find a student named Rohit and update the age to 33. That's semi-reasonable, right? Student named Rohit, yes.
Didn't find one. Yeah.
Right. Update 1. Interesting. And then, hold on, what is the result of this? Print res. Okay. And print Rohit. Wow. Okay. Well, that's approximately what I wanted to do, right? Let's run. So...
You could maybe just, if you want to actually see what's in there at the moment, print Rohit first. So
yeah, sure.
That might be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wow, 2 clicks.
Like
This is awesome.
I'm not even in your IDE. I'm at the other end of the world, and yet CodeWhisperer knows exactly what I want. Isn't that great?
Yes, exactly. You're over the ocean there somewhere. All right. So Rohit was age 33. But no. Wait, this demo 333 we make him. Right? Because he just happened to be 33, my favorite number.
A mature student. There you go.
Well, now we've
Look at
aged him a
that.
little bit. Yeah, see, he's got he's more wisdom now. He's more mature.
Yeah.
So
And it's amazing from the prompts that you're putting in. You know, yes, sometimes you're getting a line, sometimes you're getting a couple of lines of code. You're, tabbing through your suggestions, or not tabbing, arrowing through your suggestions as well too. And as Dominic says, but he's thinking about what we should be doing, and CodeWhisperer seems to be already on top of that.
yeah, we are doing pair programming 3-way, like CodeWhisperer, me and Dominic.
And one of the cool things that I've noticed when I tried it out myself, and I'm not going to push you through that now, especially looking at the time. I mean, you know me, I can talk a lot, right? So when you get a bit more precise and extend your comment and describe very lengthily what you want, quite often I found that in Python, CodeWhisperer generated really the whole code that are needed at once, which was super cool. So you don't just get a couple of lines; you most of the time just get the whole function.
Yeah.
And the whole block of code that you need, and it works quite nicely. As with any tools in that area, you have to figure out how you have to phrase what you want, and you have to learn how to actually use it. It's not like everything comes automatically. You have to just learn how to actually use it. But when you get there, and it's not that hard, but when you get there, you can actually get so much code out of it very, very quickly. And it enhances your productivity massively, which is like super cool and super helpful for those, specifically if you already know roughly what kind of code you want, but you don't want to write it down. And I think Anu mentioned that earlier about boilerplate code that you keep looking up over and over again. And now you just got a tool at hand that is just going to throw that whole boilerplate code in your face, and just all you have to do is, oh yeah, that looks about like what I need. Go ahead, and that's really cool.
And then before we just kind of stop the demo, I want to try the unit test, right? Everybody writes unit tests and whatever. And
As you should.
But do people love them? Okay, so this doesn't look like a super interesting unit test, but I think it's going to work. But I've tried this before. So generate some kind of vanilla without unit test framework, because I haven't imported unit tests, right? So let's see. I lost it.
You killed your suggestion.
Didn't like the suggestion.
There you
option go. Option C. The answer to everything is option C, actually, guys. All right. And
you missed out on the 42 earlier because you made it a 333, but I forgive you that. So
count of students 2. Right.
I mean, it's a good enough unit test, I guess. I mean, it's considering that you just want something.
Yeah, but
very simple running there. That's fine.
Yep.
I don't know if the count is 2 though.
Right, it's not 2, so it failed, right? So that's correct. Count was, we don't know how. We can check. We have the database. Students.
How many have you got?
8. Yeah.
All right, let's do 8. But I want to do it with a proper unit, like proper unit test framework. No, I think this is bogus. Let's import.
I think didn't you insert something? Oh no, you didn't change the students. You just changed the age. So they should still be 8.
But it doesn't sound right. Yeah, this whole let's import unit test framework and see what happens. So import. Yes, that's what I want. And create a unit test for this test function. Yep. Click option C. Come on. Yes. Ooh. Well, look at that.
There you go.
You wanted verbosity.
That's a big suggestion.
Yeah.
It wants to do everything.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna like. Okay. What did it go away? Okay. Again.
See, live demos. These are always good.
Well, yes. And then you were talking, Dominic was talking how you kind of need to find your cadence with it. Yes, you will have to. Okay, we're gonna remove. Yeah, wow, it generated a lot of tests. Okay, but we'll just focus on the number. So we'll make of them 1, 8. One should be failing, one should be passing. Okay, and then we should. I don't remember how to invoke this, right? Because it's a class and it's Python, and I need to instantiate it somehow. Oh, look at that! Nice. Off the top of my head, I would have to Google. Okay, let's run it. It's gonna 1 pass, 1 fail. Yeah, nice. Well, okay, this is 7 is not equal to 8. Oh, it's 7 now. Cool. Oh, every run we
I guess we
insert.
can agree with that.
I think we have insert somewhere here, right? Find one. Oh no, whatever. But it did it. It changed to 7. I think we should. Okay, we passed. So quick time check. I think this is a good. Yeah, look, we wrote a test, we ran it, and we knew how to invoke it. Yeah, I think we basically did CRUD. We can delete everything too. No, I don't want to delete everything. So, and Shane, Dominic, anything else you want to try?
I suppose you talked about the manual invocation instead of automatic, etc. Any other tips and tricks? I know that when we were developing this and we were running through the various languages, it got, as we had more, like you've only got what, 40, 50 lines of code here on the screen, Igor. As we were building things that were more complex, CodeWhisperer had more context. So it was getting much more accurate with the sort of suggestions that it was turning back on our prompts.
I mean, you still need to find your cadence, like, and kind of pause at the right moment, or just turn it off if you don't feel like it gets in your way. But turn it on always. Like the worst case scenario, you always just hit escape key and don't accept the suggestion. I have it on everywhere, even on the languages it doesn't support, because it sees the context. It can guess approximately what you're typing. Other suggestions?
Anyone with any comments in the chat, etc., please do. We got a big one here, which I don't know how it's going to render on the screen, but a bit of advice for Dominic, and we've obscured your face now, Dominic, as well too.
Nice. I like comment.
That. If CodeWhisperer informed about the code libraries, well, look, we saw kind of at the beginning the import PyMongos, etc., and that in itself sets them up a bit, Igor, right?
Yes, and you saw how we were doing a unit test, and I didn't import a unit test, and it generated some kind of vanilla code that does some kind of manual assertion, right? But when I did a unit test, it knew that I want to do a proper Python unit test, and that's generated a class. So it is aware of the context, and it knows what we're importing and suggests based on that.
Okay.
And you also don't like the comment here mentioned an extra MD file or something like that. You can actually, if I understand the question correctly, you can actually get to the result if your comment contains what library you're looking for or what library you would want to use. So, for example, the imports, at least in my case, when I tried it out, CodeWhisperer was even capable of doing that perfectly fine without writing those imports up there. As I said, I'm a bit blabbery, I guess. So my comment very specifically contained the instruction to use the MongoDB drivers and create a client with that. And I had loads of descriptions there, specifically about what I want, because CodeWhisperer is a code completion, but it's not a mind reader, right? So it would then also generate the imports, which is actually quite handy because you don't even have to do that. You just need to be very precise because there is obviously a vast amount of libraries out there for library and for Python and many other languages. So if you're not specific enough, there's no way for CodeWhisperer to guess it. But if you say it very clearly, then most of the time that would even work. But as we said before, you have to work a bit on the wording. So every tool is a bit different, and you have to find out how to actually get there. Let's see what we did. What
Yeah,
did
you
you
see,
use
it's not
MongoDB
enough.
driver?
Yeah, it's not enough context for it. So it thinks I want to do a function, right? So yeah, maybe I
I mean,
want to
there's
do
nothing
function.
wrong with the function. What's going to happen when you actually accept the function and then?
No, well, okay, it actually did what you were.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that's missing is the import that I just mentioned, that it
Right.
sometimes actually also suggests, which is quite handy.
Okay, but I
But
didn't.
the code that you
Yeah.
got would be fine, because what would happen if, and you don't have to do that now, but if you code completed that now, your IDE would just tell you, hey, there is that one thing that I don't know where to get, what that is, and then the IDE, on the other hand, is going to suggest you to just install PyMongo. There you go. See, even the import gets suggested. So it's just taking care of everything that you need. So
Yeah, and more. These are overlapping kind of. Okay, well, we don't want that, for example. Fine.
Exactly.
Well, I want my where's my function? No, so fine, no. Okay, now let me just help it a little bit. Let's just say I wanted
I assume what's
def.
happening here is that if you say you don't want that, the original code completion ends, and then you get a new suggestion about, well, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, and then here they decided, like, I wanted to do movies. I'm tired of Dominic talking. I want to see talking movies,
Right?
not talking Dominic. So
Excellent. Yeah.
it just gets, like you said, Dominic, like this verbose context, maybe not the right way to go about it. Just give it some context in the code, and then just gonna tell it what you want to do and start coding, and just forget
I
about it.
think what you said though, Igor, is right. You got to develop your own cadence, your own understanding of kind of how much, how long of a prompt is suitable for the task that you're trying to achieve. How much you describe in that. Do you give a big long one like you did at the top there, or do you break it up into smaller asks as well too? I think the key thing for us essentially is that we launched this on Monday. We're delighted with the reception that it's got so far, but we want to get feedback from our developers as well too. So we've essentially created a getting started page on the MongoDB Developer Center. If you go there, it will show you, much like Igor did at the beginning here, how to get CodeWhisperer and install it for your IDE of choice and get up and running. But in that page as well too, you'll see that we link out to the MongoDB forums, our community forums, where we've created a new tag called CodeWhisperer. So if you are using CodeWhisperer for MongoDB operations and functions, we'd love to hear about it. And we'd love you to go into our forums, put your questions there. If you use the CodeWhisperer tag in our forums, we get alerted. So we'd be straight on to you to try and help you and see how CodeWhisperer is helping you as a day-to-day developer. So you can learn an awful lot more there as well too. If you're not using Atlas at the moment, you can jump on and register for Atlas and MongoDB, free tier, get up and running really, really quickly. So you can play around with CodeWhisperer. If you want to use this link that we have here, all our short links in our live streams are mdb.link. And in this instance, this is our 19th Cloud Connect show. So it's CC Atlas 19 will get you straight in to the registration page there on MongoDB. And you can find a little bit more, plus a video with my voice over it as well, too, if you can put up with more of me, on our .com blog, our .com page about the CodeWhisperer collaboration with AWS as well, too. We've talked a lot. We've seen the demo. We've seen how to get it installed, up and running. We did some CRUD examples. We did a unit test example. Thank you, Igor. We saw the tricks and tips, as well too, the manual invocation, as well as just kind of arrowing through or tabbing through and accepting that. So this has been great. As I said at the start, we are all at reInvent, AWS reInvent in Las Vegas at the end of the month. Igor will be there, obviously, AWS employee, but myself and Dominic, and my next guest as well too, is Chuck Friedman, who is my boss here at MongoDB. He's the Director of Developer Advocacy. Welcome, Chuck. Oh, you're muted, Chuck. Just hit the thingy down below.
It did. There it is.
Yes.
Hello.
Oh, Chuck.
Hi,
Hey.
Igor. Hi, Dominic. Hey, Shane. Thanks for welcoming me on. Great job so far. on
We're
CodeWhisperer
delighted to
demo.
have you. So I was saying in the introduction but just before the demo started, that obviously at AWS reInvent, we're going to be showcasing CodeWhisperer some more. We're going to showcase lots of our other integrations that we have at AWS as well too. But Chuck, yourself and Dominic are doing a workshop, a 2-hour workshop at reInvent. Tell us a little bit more about that for those that might be fortunate enough to be able to go to reInvent.
Yeah, of course. So our team has been traveling around to some key cities here in North America. We're soon going into Europe in a couple of weeks, switching gears into some more instruction, the vector search capabilities of the platform, what you can do with MongoDB and AWS in particular is just so compelling. So we've started to do a lot of hands-on sessions to instruct developers on best practices, bringing them through an example project, understanding some of the capabilities and really giving everybody the skills to go off and start building and using these features. And the good news is we're taking one of those labs, the one that focuses on our Atlas Search vector search capabilities and integration with SageMaker into reInvent. So Thursday morning, and I'll pull up the details in a moment, if you're going to be at reInvent, you can join Dominic and I and our colleagues, Diego and Ted, who will also be in the room to support folks for a really amazing 2-hour hands-on session. So bring your laptops, and participants will actually build an example with these features integrated and sort of for firsthand see the wonders of what the vector search capabilities can do with some vector embeddings data. So very excited. And Dominic, you're going to be joining me on stage to really do some of the most exciting parts, really go through what vector search can do and working with SageMaker.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool stuff. I'm super excited to be there end of November. Can't wait to get this going and hopefully teach some people about vector search and a cute little tool called SageMaker. Igor, right?
Yes, SageMaker is our machine learning product. Yep.
You can tell us more than that now, Igor.
Well,
tell us about the various components of SageMaker.
Since you ask, yeah, SageMaker think of it as an umbrella. Okay, there's many components underneath. There's SageMaker Jumpstart, which I think, Dominic, you're planning to use, right? It's where you can pick models. So for the vector search, you're particularly interested in a specific class of models called embeddings models. So these models that take tasks, choose through it, textual data, actually, not only textual, they can be text, could be images or sound, but each of those will be a different model. So you can take whatever object it is and you generate a vector, an array of numbers. And that somehow represents, some people say it's meaning. I don't believe a bunch of numbers represent any meaning. I mean, like, then Dominic will immediately say, oh,
unless one of them is 42.
Exactly. I knew you go on that. You're going to have a vector with 42 values of 42. And you'll say, this is it. This is everything you need to know. But it generates that vector. But this vector has interesting properties. Other similar, let's say it's text, or let's say it's images. Other similar images will have vector that is geometrically, well, depending on how you compare similarity, they will be similar. Like geometrically, it's a distance, or you hear sometimes cosine. It's mostly direction. Think of like if it points that way, it's a similar thing, and the other thing points that way, it's a similar thing. Then, so that's SageMaker Jumpstart. There's a variety of embeddings model. But Dominic, you could have done better. You could have used Bedrock. Bedrock Titan embeddings model now supports embeddings that are compatible with MongoDB Atlas. And it's easier to use. You don't need to provision an endpoint. You just point to the API, give me an embedding, and it will give you an embedding. So
the next workshop we'll have to do that.
Yes. So the next workshop.
I literally implemented that part this week and I had to do it myself. And I wish I could have used Bedrock, but in preparation for the workshop, I had to write my own endpoint and get that up and running. But
exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
that's a really cool thing about Bedrock. So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
and seeing that in action.
Yep. With Bedrock, it's a ready-made API. With the Jumpstart, it's you an endpoint you have to deploy, then you interact with that endpoint. Of course, there is also SageMaker Studio. That's a managed manage development environments primarily toward data scientists. I know Dominic not a big fan of Jupyter and Jupyter Labs, and why do you need to hit Shift Enter to execute every line? Why can't I just run? Where is the debugger? that kind of stuff. Why is my output and code combined in one document?
That is actually the one thing that I like about it. Like there's a lot in there that is weird when you're coming from a different IDE. But one of the things that and it's not the only thing, but one of the things I really love about the SageMaker quick starts, jump starts is using those notebooks is that you got not just the code, you got your documentation cells, right? With explanations about what's going on, and you got the outputs, and you got all those other cute little options like drop downs and whatnot. So to work through that, especially when you get started with something, they're in general great, but specifically the ones that I looked at for SageMaker, it's just amazing, because if you have not worked with SageMaker or LLMs and everything around that before, you get a really great start, and you can just go through it one by one, and at the end of it, you're all set and done. You're just ready, and then you can swap your cells and work on whatever you want. So that's a great starting point that I can definitely recommend to everyone who wants to try that out. Open up a quick start, jump start. I keep saying quick start, but it's jump start. A jump start notebook for SageMaker, and just play around with it.
Yeah,
it's really super cool.
Yeah, and then there's services like Canvas, which is more point and click. It's for analysts, and they can just plug in some data and get some model and do some predictions. Look at cool feature there is to look at explainability, why this feature is important. That will kind of give you kind of understanding what is driving results of your model. There is a next level up would be Data Wrangler, where you have ability to code. You can plug in little snippets, but still a lot of things you can be done with kind of point and click. But you can plug a little bit pandas code. And then there's like various tools for data scientists to track experiments. There's AutoML for just throw the data, it will figure it out kind of thing. There is also debugger for model performance and hyperparameter tuning. There are like more specialized modules within SageMaker. Did it cover everything you wanted to hear, Shane, or you want?
I think so. See, look, I asked you to explain a little bit more, and all of a sudden we've heard about all of these other great things that SageMaker does. But speaking of explaining a bit more, Chuck, obviously we've got this workshop that we've been talking about, and look, as Dominic is part of that, hopefully in the future we'll turn some of that content into things that will appear back in the MongoDB Developer Center. So if you can't make it to reInvent, and you're not one of the 65,000 people who do, or the couple of hundred that are going to make it to this workshop, we will in future have some of that content at Developer Center. But that's not all we're doing at reInvent, right, Chuck? You have some other details of the other activities that we're up to there?
Yeah, I'd love to share that, actually, if you wouldn't mind. If you want to load that up on your end and I can talk through it.
Yeah. Can you? Oh, you sent it to me. Apologies, I wasn't paying attention to that part of the
no, it's all good. I was captivated as well. Anytime I hear Igor and Dominic riff on all the possibilities. But
no problem.
Yeah, this of course.
Share this. There you go.
All right, excellent.
Scroll through this.
So MongoDB's, of course, been at reInvent for several consecutive years. Honestly, this is my first time going because several decades ago, my wife and I decided to get married during the week that reInvent annually reoccurs.
That's a very good decision. That's a good decision.
Yeah, she was quite prescient and saying, I'll keep you from going to that show by making sure our wedding anniversary is happening every year. This year, it's actually the Friday, so I will be home in time. But I'm excited to go, and we have a lot planned. There's a landing page here, which Shane, you can share the link to. But if you want to scroll down a bit, we're featuring a couple of activities. We'll, of course, have a huge booth there, which will feature some in-booth talks, a lot of great demos. We'll be showcasing a lot of AI capability. If you've seen us at some other events, we'll have our famous leaf steroids demo as well. that shows some data-driven experiences. But the lightning talks I'm especially excited about. Our community team's been working to line up some really inspiring individuals that are going to come in and showcase some great AI integration and projects they're working on. There's also a very fun experience that we're creating to allow for more efficient and enjoyable transportation between some of the activities. So you can read up on that on the developer highway. And then if you want to scroll down a bit, in addition to the session that Dominic and I are leading, you get to see two of our real the most intelligent folks here working on AI. Ben and Seth will be presenting a session on building Gen AI enriched apps. And then, of course, the legend himself, Rick Houlihan, will be talking about schema design for fast applications. And then all these are clickable. You can get in, you can register. I understand we're doing quite well for our session already. A lot of interest, of course, in anything AI, but particularly how we're approaching this is through this 2-hour hands-on session. And I think if you're attending, certainly going to get a ton from it. And Shane, I appreciate what you said too, is for those that aren't attending, we are going to find a way to make these resources available to you all as well.
Excellent. Well, look, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to there at reInvent as ever. And look, yeah, we have a decent stand there with a lot of space, a lot of screens, a lot of places to demo and showcase what we do, our integrations with AWS. And so do call by the stand if you happen to be there. But that was a great overview. And yeah, the developer highway, I want to see that in action with all those developers on scooters, not necessarily known for their sense of direction and coordination. We'll see how that one works out. But it should be good. Well, this has been a superb session. We started off with Andrew Davidson and Anu Sharma at a high level talking about what CodeWhisperer collaboration means to MongoDB with AWS, and that was brilliant. And you can see there that, as Anu said, and David actually, we're just at the start, and there's so much more to come. I'm sure Igor knows what's to come and what's further down the track, and he can say nothing about it at the moment. His lips are sealed. But thank you, Igor, for the demo.
It's hidden on his desktop,
Yeah.
It's on the desktop. There is a file there. Yeah,
it's behind you.
One of those. Yes.
Yeah. But you had the demo there with Igor and Dominic sharing, kind of the examples, how to install CodeWhisperer, how to get it up and running through the AWS toolkit, IntelliJ and VS Code. But there's a few others, right, as well, Igor, that IDEs that CodeWhisperer will work on as well, too.
Yeah, it also works in Lambda and I think Cloud9. I have to look at the exact list. I just looked at the ones that I use and Dominic uses.
It works in Lambda as well?
Yeah. So look,
yep.
Oh, that's
depending
really cool.
on your environment of choice, it will work fine with you. And as I said, it would be really super helpful for us here in MongoDB if you jumped essentially into our Getting Started page on our Developer Center, and in there you'll see the links into our community. We'd love to hear how the developers are using it, good and bad. We want the, kind of, it didn't do anything for this, I got really stuck, it didn't know. We want all of that, but we do want some of the good stuff as well too, and we'd love to showcase those if we can. I think, overall, I think it has, a tremendous opportunity to be able to train the foundational models of CodeWhisperer, to be able to give potentially the best practices to a developer, regardless of what level. So we're very much looking forward to what our community will do and build with the power of CodeWhisperer. But for now, for everybody who joined us on this version of Cloud Connect, we do appreciate it. Igor, thank you once again. I know we default to you an awful lot to join us, and we enjoy it.
Thank you.
I know that.
Always
Dominic,
happy to be here.
Thank you for your time and doing the demo. And Chuck, thank you for jumping on and showing what's happening down at a reInvent in just a few short weeks' time. For anybody on Cloud Connect, our regular viewers, we're not streaming next Thursday, nor the following Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. So it's going to be towards the end of the month on November 30th that we're back on your LinkedIns and YouTubes. So, but for now, thank you very much for joining. It's been a pleasure to host everybody, and do get out there and start using CodeWhisperer and let us know how you get on. So take care all. It's been great. Thank you so much.